Bullshitting yet.
Say it again. Say it again. Say it again.
Yeah.
Say it again.
Why?
Because now I'm recording.
Oh, good Lord.
You ready to go? Oh no, I got the first segment. I didn't catch him say, I haven't even started bullshitting yet. I've missed it on the recorder on that. All right, warm it up, Jimmy. Here we go.
Ready?
Yeah. Hey folks, welcome back to Firing Line Radio Show. And you know, every week on this show, our conversation is going to revolve around firearms, hunting, gun rights, and everything afforded to all Americans under the Second Amendment of the Constitution. Our faithful and stalwart companion in the battle to uphold these rights has been Firing Line Radio's longtime sponsor, Vince Torres of Bullseye Sports Guns and Ammo in Riverside. Now, if you're not armed for protection or recreation, shame on you. Then Bullseye Sport in Riverside is where you need to go for handguns, rifles, shotguns, ammos, accessories, and much more. Now, after you purchase that firearm, Vince and I highly recommend that you attend a certified firearm safety and training course. One that'll teach you the basic knowledge, skills, and attitudes essential to the safe and efficient use of your firearm. So for more information about their certified firearm courses, call Bullseye Sport in Riverside, 951-823-0211. Visit their website, bullseyesport.com, for scheduled classes, because at Bullseye Sports Guns and Ammo, they believe in safety first. 951-823-0211. You know that guy, don't you?
I do.
You don't. Vince, you actually use him quite a bit.
I do.
Doing your sales and your transfers and stuff like
Absolutely. Nice store.
that. Nice store, funny guy.
Mm-hmm. Nice store. Well, a lot of ammunition.
Tons of
A
ammo.
well-rounded supply of ammunition.
Yeah. And the other thing I like about it, every time I go in there, he gets estate sales and used guns and stuff like that. And here, think about California. We have the same gun on every roster.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to buy a Glock 19, that's what every store has, or the Shields or M&Ps, whatever it is. We've seen the same roster for what, 10 years?
Absolutely.
So pretty much, if you wanted one of those, you've already bought it. Or maybe you're collecting the set as you go. But if you have a store that sells used stuff, what's nice is the inventory is changing.
You get a little bit of something different.
Yeah, he had some really nice SIG X5s. Out of my price range, but boy, they were nice to look at. Anyway, folks, that's Bullseye Sports and Ammo, Guns and Ammo in Riverside. So, Jim, let's talk a little bit about the bolt action precision. You are a trained, this is Jim Gruning, folks, Gruning Precision. You are a trained machinist. Aerospace machinist. Mm-hmm. And everything is measured 5 times, cut once.
Absolutely.
The key to accuracy, as we've been talking about, is consistency, right?
Consistency and paying attention to both the alignment of the rifle, of the components of the rifle, like the bolt lugs, the threads that hold the barrel,
Yeah.
You have bolt lugs right here in the front of the bolt, right in the front of the bolt right here. And that's, those lugs,
which is actually the back side of the lug.
Back side of the lugs. That's a camming that cams into the camming surface on the inside of the receiver. That's in the front of the receiver, and you need to make those so it's perfectly perpendicular to the axis of the bore and parallel with the bolt face. So that way there, a couple of things. You don't get bolt torque when you fire it. That keeps it from having quite so much vibration going down the barrel.
Okay.
And it also makes it so if you do reloading, it makes your brass so it's a heck of a lot better without having the base of your brass crooked to the body of your brass.
And stretched. And
Exactly. And then what we end up doing is we make the front face of the receiver so that's perpendicular to the axis of the bore, and then we recut the threads inside the receiver.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we go in there with a single point tool, not a tap, and we go in there with a single point tool in the lathe after we get the receiver completely
squared
away, and then we make about a 80% cleanup. And we do it about. Go ahead.
Most of the guns you're working on are Remington 700s.
A lot of them.
Yeah,
a lot of them.
So,
I don't have to do this with Stiller actions.
Right. Well, that's.
But you pay.
That's why you pay for
Stiller. Pay a lot of money for a Stiller action.
So you're saying 80% of them that you get need to be cleaned up and squared.
I would say all of them.
All of them.
All of them, because you get tolerance stacking, which means that if you're out 2,000ths on the bolt lugs, you're out 1,000th on the bolt face, you're out another couple of thousandths on the camming surface in the receiver, you're off another few thousandths on the threads, and then you're off another couple of thousandths on the front face of the receiver. You can add and subtract all that up, and you're going to be off quite a bit. And that's the whole key, is getting this so the alignment is true. You want everything on center. If everything is on center, and I mean on center, I mean within about 1 to 2 10,000ths of an inch, and that's how close it needs to be to get the optimum accuracy.
Now, what do you consider optimum accuracy?
I like to see quarter-minute rifles. I like to see
I
that.
can't see that well.
Sometimes depending on the cartridge, you don't get that, or the load, you don't get that. Obviously, there's a lot of variables. But as far as what I do, even if I make a rifle that's a 375 H&H, which isn't a quarter-minute rifle, I go through the same things for it, because who the heck knows? Down the road, they may end up with a 375 bullet, and which I think they have some pretty nice ones nowadays, and some pretty good loads, and now all of a sudden you got a rifle that can do it, because it was built that correct way of putting everything together. And that's kind of what I try to do. Even like we were talking about the barrels, when you buy a barrel, you can buy them pre-threaded, pre-chambered, and all you got to do is short chamber them. But those things are, a lot of tolerance in there. They're designed to fit a receiver that has not been blueprinted. They're designed to basically just screw on and you're ready to shoot. It's a factory barrel. That's about it. And so what I like to do is take a barrel blank.
Which looks like a truck axle.
It looks like a truck axle. And then
it's like 1.2 inches all the way down.
All the way down.
This one, if you hold it up a little bit, this one is actually a tapered. And although it doesn't look it, it's a number 9 taper, which is a very, very stout bolt barrel, heavier than a Sendero. It's a target barrel.
Yeah, it's a good barrel. But what we like to do is...
It's not a good hunting barrel. Unless you've been working out.
What we like to do is we put it in the lathe and we take its temperature. And then when we machine it, we take light cuts, and we never let the temperature, get carried away, because we want it to not have induce a lot of stress into the metal.
So talk about that. I mean, this is the level of care that you get when you're a custom gunsmith. But, all right, we think of metal, it's pretty much indestructible.
Right.
Right? When you're dealing with precision rifles, everything has to be concentric and on top of it. And changes in temperature can induce stress marks.
Oh, it does a variety of things. With the temperature, you end up with stress, because then when you heat up the barrel when you're shooting it, and there's been stress induced into the barrel,
which is kind of realign some of the molecules.
Right. So then when you heat up the barrel, now that stress becomes a factor, and
it starts
pulls. It makes it so you start throwing your 4th and 5th shot, and it's not putting them in there where you want it. It's sort of very similar to the same thing when you have a feather light barrel, and it heats up because it's so light. It's going to throw a 3rd and 4th, 5th shot depending on how light it is. It's just...
Well, I always thought that those were designed for if you miss at 200 yards and 300 yards and 400 yards, and now he's running 500 yards. Well, your gun's now automatically throwing it 6 inches high for you.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's an automatic aiming device. It's farther it gets, hotter it gets.
Hotter it gets. Holy mackerel.
Maybe not. But pencil thin barrels are typical like a Model 70 featherweight.
Exactly.
But
they're good for 1 or 2 shots. Right. And then they have to cool down a little bit, and then you're back in business.
A Remington 700 mountain weight rifle.
They weren't designed for shooting a 10-shot, group.
And guys should realize that when they go out to the range, hey, I've only got an hour, I got to get back home, I got to get this thing done, I'm shooting 30 shots in an hour.
Work my loads up in an hour.
Yeah. And that's a recipe for disaster, because your cold bore shot is the one, and then maybe the second shot that you need for your accuracy, and everything else it's practice, but it's not the same point of impact.
Right.
With a lighter weight hunting
With
rifle.
lighter weight barrel.
Something like this, you can hold your accuracy a lot longer.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then there's also something when we talk about temperatures too, is you have a thermal coefficient, and we found this when I worked in aerospace. We concentrated on that when we made, you know, parts like for spy satellites and things like that, and you had to be concerned with, okay, this material, it has to fit into this material at this temperature. So we were always thinking about thermal coefficients, but in the firearm industry, no one thinks about this. So you end up with for instance, you have a steel receiver, and then you have a huge aluminum night vision rail, or you have a huge aluminum whatever that goes onto the rifle, and the aluminum has a thermal coefficient of 3 times more than steel. So that aluminum is expanding all over the place, and then once it expands, now it's going to contract, and then when it contracts, it's loose. So if you're holding your scope on with this piece of aluminum, it's loose and it's going everywhere.
Very, very interesting. Folks, Philip Naiman, Firing Line Radio Show, here with Jim Gruning, Gruning Precision, Gruning Precision.com. Get a hold of him there. Actually, text him. You'll find out why. I'll be right back after this.
Am I too boring?
No, let's go over just some of the basic parts of this, of a 700. That's a short action if you want to hold one, show the size difference.
Okay.
Why you prefer a short action over a long action?
I don't.
I said if you do.
No, I don't. That's for 308, 243. However, when you do, like for instance, the 6.5 284, because you're doing VLDs, the long action is nice for that, even though you can use a short action, but then you're limited to what kind of bullets you can put in.
Yeah. And I always laugh when people, well, I can't use the bullet I want because it won't fit in the magazine. It's like,
oh, I know.
Let's talk about that too.
Okay.
All right.
Lead me where you want me to go.
We're good. Oh, wait, stop a second. Gotta restart that. Otherwise the files are too big to upload.